Patrick-Henningsen, you're an American over in London. You witnessed attacks, barricades, what appeared to be racial attacks. Obviously, most of this now is just general criminal looting. Can you give us the full spectrum analysis of exactly what's happening? Because this can't happen in a country, in a city where the public is armed. This could only happen in places like Chicago, New York, or greater England. And of course, we have the secret immigration program of Tony Blair. Now they've brought in the entitled groups. They have the disheveled, drunken British kids that were born there, just as out of control. And it is quite a recipe.
Yeah. Thank you, Alex. Thanks. Yeah, listen, what you have here, what's been expressed in the last 3 or 4 days in this country is the culmination of a social experiment that's been going on starting with Margaret Thatcher through 10 years of Tony Blair government, and now obviously into the David Cameron's coalition, conservative liberal Democrat government. It's a social experiment. It's failed horribly. And I'll top it off with the point that I wanted to make yesterday, which I didn't make, was the government in this country have set their priorities over the last 10 years of bombing and pillaging innocent people in countries like Iraq, Afghanistan, and most recently in Libya, with spending $800,000 per cruise missile, dropping 7,000 of those in the first week. That's where our money's going. That's where their priority is. And they've taken their eye off the ball in this country. And sadly, I could have told you this is coming a long time ago, and so could everybody else in my neighborhood and anyone else who's lived in the city. It's particularly vulnerable to the sort of escalation that we've seen in the last 72 hours. You know, you've got young kids who've had their culture imported from America. What's meaningful for British young kids between the age of 12 and 18, American baseball caps, Nike trainers, tracksuits, hip-hop, Snoop Doggy Dogg. This is the culture, which isn't even British. It's a cheap American import. This is what they look up to, MTV, parties.
And let's be honest, that fake MTV culture that's only about 20 years old is a gang prison culture. The young kids don't know that when they let pants hang down over their hind end, that means I am a person who wants to have sex with everybody and get HIV here in the prison. All of it is about a thug life. I'm tough. I'm cool. The new manhood in America is being on welfare, going to prison, getting HIV. That's what our role models are. Not explorers, not scientists, not firefighters that go into burning buildings. It is now the lowest of the low, common denominator, bling, garbage, psychic warfare, evil for the young girls. It's cut yourself, take drugs, Lady Gaga with dead Chinese political dissidents hanging on meat hooks at her events, everyone worshiping it. Just a total culture of flooded death with just zombie-like creatures running around in all directions. This is a genius psychic warhead that they've launched into us with precision.
Look, from an objective point of view, you can say very safely that in this country, and in America it's the same, you have millions of disaffected youth. They have no vision. They have no opportunity because all the jobs have been exported to the Far East and elsewhere. They have essentially no future. All they have is this cheap import culture. They have brands. They have brands they can look up to. They have music artists who are way overpaid, footballers and athletes who are way overpaid. That's it. That's all they get. So these retail riots, the mainstream media are saying that, oh, this is because of austerity cuts and social services have been cut. But you know why this is kicked off into commercial riots? It's not because of the government. The state hasn't necessarily failed these people. It's because the cheap credit was cut off 3 years ago. And I don't know if Max Kaiser will touch on this point, but it's not about the state. Who ultimately controls the prosperity is the banks. They cut credit. They cut cheap access to easy money. The second and third mortgages are gone. That was the spending money that parents were giving the kids. The holiday loan, the car loan, the loan for the computer, pay for your living room furniture 3 years from now.
No, they are totally desperate to obtain not a mate, not a job, not a future. They should be fighting the government politically They must attain the iPhone, the iPad, the boombox. They must attain it. That's what they're looting. That's what they're robbing. The liquor, the electronics. They're leaving the bookstores alone. And they're pulling people out of their cars. They're carjacking people. Now we have the deaths of vigilantes run over, trying to defend their businesses. But here's the bigger issue, Patrick. The police now have admitted they were ordered to stand down. And Cameron's letting this get worse and worse and worse so they can then bring in, starting tomorrow, all perfectly timed. He didn't call back Parliament on Monday or Tuesday or Wednesday. He called it on Tuesday back for Thursday. At its height, with more burning and nothing being done, they will come in and pass totally draconian laws that will restrict the general public's rights ahead of true austerity and crackdowns. And they will probably go ahead and say, we're going to start shooting to kill anybody who politically protests. I mean,
what they've done, for the first time on British mainland, this is not counting Northern Ireland, they're now authorizing that the police can have rubber bullets or sort of plastic bullets in their rounds, and they will shoot looters on sight. This is something that it's the first time in history on the British mainland. This is normal in Belfast. Of course, if you live in Belfast, and I've spoken to Northern Irish people, and they're just kind of shaking their heads, like, because if this happened in Belfast, basically, water cannons would be out, they would just be spraying these kids all over the street, plastic bullets would be shot, and you can disperse crowds quite quickly. It's a fine line to walk between law and order and the security police state. Normally, we'd have this debate 15 years ago, and it'd be a totally different discussion. But now the police state has moved so far forward into people's lives. The state has moved so far forward into people's lives that this is a natural progression. For people who are anarchists, for people who say they were doing this for freedom and against the establishment, they've just kicked the ball into their own goal, because the state will clamp down on Twitter. They'll be tracing IP addresses. They'll be listening more into your powers to listen to your cell phone. Your privacy's gone. Cops on the street, maybe soldiers on the street in some cities.
And the root of this is, first they had to disarm the Brits. And once they've disarmed a population in Chicago and New York, it's always the same. The criminals all move there. The welfare people all move there. And then a hell is created, and it's total divide and conquer. And that's the issue. You know, we can't write an article about, hey, it's wrong to say shoot arsonist, and then not add to the equation, this has all been allowed because the public can't defend themselves, and the police stood down and let it get to this point. People do have a right. I mean, if you were inside that pub barricaded in Sunday night, and they were trying to set fire to you inside of it, you would be insane to not go out and defend yourself. But in this gelded, castrated world, that is the ultimate crime.
Yeah, that's what we've come to, is people are waiting for the state to come and sort it out. People are saying, oh, the police, are they going to be there? Are the police going to be there? Listen, if this goes down again, I'm talking to my neighbors. We're going to exchange phone numbers. We're going to have a list, and everyone's going to have aluminum baseball bats and crowbars inside their door, and if anything's going down, I'm calling the neighborhood chain, and we're going to basically make sure everybody's okay. And if anything goes down, we're blocking off the both ends of our streets unless you live here. No kids coming in, no looting, no burning. It's not going to happen.
And by the way, as you restore order, they will send the cops and tell you can't do it.
Well, the Prime Minister would save a whole lot of money and a whole lot of resources if you let communities self-organize a little bit. But what that will be, that's forbidden, because that's basically saying you're no longer dependent on the state. You're no longer dependent on all the massive multi-million-dollar contracts, CCTV cameras. It's a giant industry. The winner out of this debacle of the last 72 hours is the security industry.
And notice, none of that, Britain with the biggest police state and security grid ever, this is where it's happening because it's designed to do this. They're letting these people run wild now so that as things truly collapse, they'll have everything in place and the public behind, not allowing any type of demonstration because, oh, we saw the riots of August of 2011. This is the preparatory phase ahead of a total clampdown. These people are not revolutionaries. They're idiot criminals that want iPads. If they were real freedom fighters, they would have gone into the armories. They would have gone after the government. And I'm not calling for that either. But the point is, a real revolution like 1776 goes at the government, and would run that Queen and Cameron out of the country. This is not a real revolution. Do you agree, Patrick-Henningsen?
I agree completely. I spent time on the street in the last couple of days. I made a point to go out and speak to some of the
Stay there.
kids.
Stay there with us. I've got run over folks trying to protect their businesses and kill 3 of them. That's confirmed. People are dying. And you see, this is more like a wild French Revolution where we just rape, steal, kill, do whatever you want. I don't want any part of that so-called revolution led by a bunch of 16-year-old zit-faced wannabe scum. I'm so angry right now, folks, I can barely even contain myself here on air because we called that all of this was coming with total precision. We knew what was coming. We broke it down. And now we're watching it unfold. And Patrick-Henningsen, living in southern London, he gets it. He witnessed it. He knows what it is. But some people are just like, total police state, kill everybody. They don't get it. There's other people on the other end saying these are great freedom fighters. Let them do whatever they want. Let them burn down family homes. It's beautiful. And then you've got other people that are just scared when this couldn't happen if the Brits were armed. Now, you said, Patrick, that you're going out in the streets and that you had a message for people. Go ahead.
I made a point, you know, the best time is when this is fresh. Like after any event, you go out and you speak to people on the streets. In this case, I spoke to some young people and some older people in the community, and I got mixed messages. One of the things I heard over and over again from some of the kids was like, we brought the police force to their knees. We did it, and we showed them.
Idiots.
And I'm saying to them, showed them what? You've hit the wrong target. If you really had something revolutionary to express here, you would hit the banks. You would hit the News Corporation. You would hit the Evening Standard, the propaganda, and the banking establishment, the Bank of England. That's the heart of the establishment. If you really want to rock the establishment, hit the right targets. They're not hitting the right targets. But this whole thing, there is evidence that this is engineered. There's a fine little corrupt dance between private security companies, the police force, and organized crime. They all linked in a business triangle. And all around the world, but especially in this country and obviously in America, the gangs and certain members of the police force, all cops are not corrupt. Most of them are good people. Most of them are hardworking.
But it's like the ATF caught shipping cocaine and guns now. It's always been the police would select crime gangs and the private security forces. That's where the $500 billion a year in drug money in the U.S. goes. Of course it's system run. And it's now coming out that sharp-dressed men were coordinating all of this from the beginning. That's up on Infowars.com. So you're absolutely right. And the police admitting the stand down right there, there's the proof. This is pointed at hard-working Brits.
Look, there's also another big, massive danger here. In the reordering after this, the next phase I predict will be racial tension. This will spill over between Indian, Pakistani, black, and white communities. And now you will see, whenever there's an economic depression in Europe, there's always the rise of right-wing, extreme right-wing groups, fascist, British National Party, UKIP. They will have a bigger seat at the table now. Anders Breivik, a few weeks ago, in his manifesto, a right-wing extremist was saying the failure of multiculturalism. And magically, we have this complete mayhem breaking out in Britain only weeks later, and the British Defence League has pledged 1,000 people as foot soldiers to protect communities. So I think you're going to see a trend in the next sort of 5 to 6 years. The economy is not going to rebound.
Quicker than that.
Worse. You're going to see the rise of right-wing extremists and these kind of splinter groups like you did in the 70s. So that's kind of frightening for me because basically they're going to have a bigger voice at the table, and they're being used and they're infiltrated by the alphabet soup agencies as bad as any groups. And I don't see anything positive coming out of what we've seen here in England, which is total anarchy in the last 3-4 days.
Well, I totally agree with you, and this whole thing is scripted. They need to have everybody clashing with each other while the mega banks rob everybody. And if this is the vanguard of the revolutionaries going after family homes and 4th and 5th generation family shops, boy, heaven help us. And that's exactly what the social engineers are going to do. They're going to play the giant underclass off against the middle class, and then the government will play the part of the arbiter, the referee. This is the divide and conquer strategy that we literally beat to death here on Earth, here on the air. Patrick-Henningsen.